Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainbows, and I'm going to show you how to make a structurally sound mossy witch hat. So you're going to need foam board, hot glue, scissor, X-Acto knife, duct tape, zip ties, something to make a circle, and then felt, moss, and chicken wire. You can see that I am outside, and when I filmed this it was 96 that day, but it's worth it because moss makes a mess. So I'm just tracing out any circle, or you can use the pin, pencil, and string method. You're just making the brim. So if you want a really narrow witch hat or you want a really wide one, this is where you do it. Once you have that, you can use an X-Acto knife to cut each of these out. Now, just FYI, you cannot have a section for the head cut out. If you're not going to mount it or wear it, just leave it flat. But if you do, it's super easy to use an X-Acto knife and cut it all out. Oh, and don't worry about what it looks like. You're not going to see that at all. So I am going to be using chicken wire for this because it is more structurally sound than pretty much anything else out there. You, however, can use poster board and just roll it into a cone and trim the bottom, or you can use a styrofoam cone if you can find the wide brim one or the wide bottom ones. They're good. So here you can see I just looped over the chicken wire a couple of inches, and then I'm folding down the bottom just to get a couple extra millimeters basically of thickness down there and secure that overhang. Once I had that all sized to a little hole in the middle, I'm going to start breaking down into a cone. Now I wanted a much bigger top, so I just added another layer of chicken wire. And if you have to do that because you have also bought your chicken wire on Amazon instead of going to the actual farm store for it, and you have to do this, don't worry, zip ties are going to make this structurally sound. It will never come apart, so just have those handy. By the way, the Dollar Tree has zip ties and those will work for this project. You just have to have them long enough to fit, you know, this little piece here. So I just did 3 of those, and once those were on, I actually used duct tape to secure the 2 layers down, and we don't need that to be structurally sound, we just need it to not poke us. That's the only reason I did that. All right, so don't put your duct tape away though, because we're going to use that in just a second. I had black felt, so that's what I'm using. You can use burlap, you can use whatever fabric you want. I'm just cutting 2 to 3 inches outside this circle, and the reason is because we're gonna cut it and wrap the edges. Now I will say this looks really good with this method wrapped if you take some time. So you can see I'm cutting 2 to 3 inch sections, but I'm not going to the edge. I'm leaving maybe 1/4 of an inch, and that's what's gonna make it look good. We're gonna overlap. We are also going to use a good portion of hot glue in this particular section with the felt, because I'm not sewing anything when it's 90 degrees outside. All right, so I just secured that to the brim, and now you're just gonna glue up each piece. So as I mentioned, if you don't cut it all the way, you'll get this nice little overlap where each of the pieces will cover the prior one, but you won't have that spacing in between the cut pieces. So just use a lot of glue. I timed all of this. The whole project took me 1 hour and 36 minutes, but that didn't include the drying time for the sealant. This took me 15 minutes just to do this because I kept burning myself. So if you have hot glue finger guards, I would maybe use those. But I did the same thing for the center. I just cut that into 8 sections, excuse me, and glued that down as well. Now this is going to help you in a little bit, but if you're not doing the middle section, don't worry about this. You'll divide it a different way. So you can see you have all of those nice sections portioned out, which will come into play later. So now, listen, there's no pattern. And as somebody who provides patterns, it's hard for me to say that, but here's the thing. Just cut it. It's okay. You're gonna trim this down anyway. Just cut it so A, it covers the whole cone, and B, there's 3 to 4 inches of overhang underneath the bottom of the cone. That's it. You can make it lumpy, you can make it wiggly, anything. But because we're gluing to basically chicken wire, I am going to create layers of inside and outside duct tape. Could you cover this in something else? Yes. Am I going to go and get another fabric? No, because I want the black. So I just also covered the tip of my hat because I kind of bent it over. So I wanted to make sure that had a good bit of structure before I started adding weight. So there you go. Just make sure you've got every 3 inches or so some duct tape. You can see here I had to add one more because I had a big space because I wasn't paying attention. Because it was hot. It was humid and hot when I made this. Now all you're going to do is just glue it. Glue it to the duct tape. That's it. And then after a while, you'll glue it back to itself. And again, it doesn't matter what this looks like. Literally, no one's going to see this. That's it. Oh, and if you have a witch's hat that you have already bought from someplace and want to use that, you're going to need to add a little bit of wire. So, that is one thing I will say. You're going to want like a 20 gauge wire or something where you can add a little bit more structure, because when you put the moss on, it will fold it in. All right, so here you can see I'm just taking my time on the, listen, don't look at it too close, but I actually got the felt all the way on there. So we'll be able to get the moss all the way on there. Look, doesn't look good, doesn't matter. Now here you can see I'm just trimming it so it has that 3-inch bottom, and then I'll cut those into wide sections. And you guessed it, hot glue. Hot glue. I haven't used a regular size glue gun in so long. But yeah, you'll need a regular size glue gun for this one, not the detail tip. So as you can see, just finish that all up, and this is what it looks like. Do not worry that it looks like this. I promise it's not going to matter. So now we need to structurally adhere it to the base, right? Hot glue is not going to work for me. I live in a hot climate and I have a child, so everything will break. So here's what I'm going to do. Take my scissors and I'm going to poke a hole into the foam board through the felt, and then I'm going to poke a hole at the corresponding cone. I numbered all of mine because I wanted to make sure I got 8, because that way it would be even. Why? Because all of those pieces were already cut and they're even. So we're just going to do that. That's why I said about the 8. If you don't have a hole cut out of the center, just divide it. You can write right on it. No one's going to see this. And just divide it into 8 sections and do a minimum of 8. So you can see here, I'm staying about 1 inch away from that inside rim, and you're putting the zip ties through there to where the connector portion is in the center. That way, when we actually connect it, they won't poke us, and they'll be hidden, and they won't like make our moss bump up. So here you can see I'm just labeling them. I'm just going to go all the way around and do that. Once I have all of that done, I'm going to take my take my X-Acto knife and poke a hole right where those numbers are. Again, I'm staying about 1 inch away from the bottom. Now, it's going to look a little wild and it's going to look a little wonky, but no one is going to see this. So we don't care. Just trust this process. I promise it's going to work out. So when you poke it through, just feed that zip tie through, but don't pull it tight yet until you've got all of them on. Then we'll center it and then pull each one tight. So here you can see, I think that's the last one. I don't know. This portion didn't take very long, by the way. It's just cutting holes and poking in. But again, the whole project only took about 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I would plan a minimum of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so now you can see they're all on there. So now we'll start pulling them tight. Now I did learn if you pull it too tight, my little brim will buckle, but I think it looked cool. So you could not do that. But you can see I'm just pulling them tight, and you can cut these off. So wire cutters or scissors or whatever, but I didn't want to get poked in case I did want to wear it as a hat. So you can see my little brim, I had to push it back down. But I didn't want to get poked. So instead of cutting them, which you can do with little wire cutters here, I just fed them back through the chicken wire. Now I will say, if you are wearing this, we didn't have a problem with the zip ties on our forehead, but if it bothers you, add a liner. So I'm using the moss sheets. Now the bad part for me is that I already opened the package because this isn't a whole one. So if you buy new sheets, you actually remove the moss from the paper. But when I was doing that, it all just broke off into pieces. So I'm going to be using the paper backing. But if you buy a new bag of sheet moss, remove the paper. All right, so here you can see I'm just using this. It was in my moss bag because I put it in trash bags because it's so messy. So this is an entirely different color, and you'll see that. But I'm going to show you how we get rid of seams, and we use that same practice to get rid of the different colors. So I'm cutting mine into smaller sheets because, again, when I tried to remove it, it just crumbled as opposed to coming off. So I'm going to do mine in portions. And here you can see I just got a general idea of the size, and then I glued it on and then trimmed it from there. That is the easiest way because I'm not measuring anything. This is supposed to be an easy craft. To me, Halloween should be an easy holiday. If it's a one-day holiday, it should be simple crafts. Speaking of holidays, it's almost time to decorate for Christmas. It's September, but I already have started on Christmas. Isn't that fun? All right, so here you can see I'm just trimming it. Keep all those pieces because when you have seams like this or you have sparse areas, be sure to remove the moss from the background or from the paper. Add copious amounts of hot glue and then press it, and that will disappear any problems. That's it. That's all you do all the way around. All right, so now I'm going to glue this down. Again, I'm not measuring anything, so I just added glue, popped it on, and then trimmed it. That's it. And then once I trimmed it, I added a little hot glue on the edge and then added moss. If you don't have the paper backing, you won't need to do that, but I had to cover up that white paper somehow, and I wasn't about to paint anything, so that's my answer. So once you've done the brim and the edges all the way around, this is what it looks like. It's a big crafter mat. You can see moss is everywhere. But now you have to clean off the bottom, or at least I did. Before I did that though, I spray sealed. So I'm using one of these. One of them's empty, but I just want to show you. You can use any spray sealant, including the Gorilla Glue spray seal. You're going to need at least 2 coats, generous coats. And then I did 3 coats because mine was going to be outside. So I'm just basically doing everything, the edges, the tip, all of it. And then this is it drying in the sun to remove any hot glue strings. And here she is, how I'm going to put her on the front porch. That's it for me today. I hope you liked it. Let me know down below in the comments. Subscribe for more crafts.